I'm Brandon Amoroso, and this is the D2Z podcast, building and growing your business from a Gen Z perspective. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into the D2Z podcast, a podcast about using the Gen Z mindset to grow your business. I'm Gen Z entrepreneur Brandon Amoroso, founder and CEO of e-com agency Electric Marketing. And today I'm joined with Blake, head of partner community for text marketing leader Attentive. Thanks for coming on the show, Blake. I'm super excited to have you here.
How's it going, Brandon? It's great to be here. Great to finally make this happen. Really excited.
All we do is talk about SMS marketing and e-commerce on the side. So now we can share it with the public and hopefully they find some value from it. So before we jump in, could you just give everybody like a quick sort of background on yourself, what your current role is, and sort of how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, for sure. So as Brandon mentioned, Blake Imperl, head partner community at Attentive. My background really is in D2C e-com, but previously, before I came to Attentive, I led growth at a company called Tone, it's a conversational SMS platform. We were acquired by Attentive in June of last year, so I came over to the partnerships team and stepped into this partner community role. But my ecom background really stems back a few years. Spent a lot of time working my way up up to a head of retention at an agency, and then also have my own consultancy practice. Really just spend a lot of time working with Shopify Plus brands to build email and SMS programs. And here at Attentive, aside from my day-to-day, I'm really focused on spreading the message of SMS being this conversational and relationship building channel at its core.
Awesome. I think your experience in D2C probably pays off a lot coming over to the software side and having that like hands-on experience that I feel like a lot of software companies are lacking when it comes to that area.
Definitely. I think it brings a unique kind of background perspective to this team. And, like we have a lot of experts across various, things here at Attentive. And to be able to have that kind of insight, I think has been really helpful, not only to our partner team and working with agencies and tech partners, but also sort of in this internal enablement sort of kind of focus where like we're just really focused myself on kind of educating, across what SMS does. And it's not just SMS in the tech stack. And I think that's something I'm trying to really help kind of foster here too, is that what does it look like, bigger picture, and where does SMS fit into that?
Yeah, I think like the ability to integrate with the rest of the technology ecosystem is probably crucial for any tool, whether it's SMS or otherwise within the Shopify ecosystem. Because like for us, if you don't integrate with the rest of the tools we're using, we can't use you. So those like tech partnerships are very valuable for sure.
For sure.
So before we get started, before we dive in, I just need to compliment you on your background. I mean, that Attentive hat, slight placement there is perfect. I need to take some tips from you on how I'm going to better stage my background for the next one.
This was a work in progress. I've got this shiplap back here and needed to put some things up. I've got a yellow hat over here. I don't know if you can see that. Maybe.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Wow.
There. But I put the swag in when I can. It's tasteful, of course, but no, it's great. I have an Attentive sweatshirt, a yellow one that I'll wear on speaking engagements, and like I
Yeah.
think it's sort of like my tone sweatshirt. It's becoming kind of like this kind of like mysterious sort of like merch that everyone wants. But if
Yeah,
anyone wants,
I was going to say I'm going to text you right after this to make sure I can get a hat and sweatshirt because I don't have one. So we'll be following up on that shortly. So jumping back into things, just give us sort of like some insight into your day as a partner manager. What do you think about when you're building out the team? How important is it as a Shopify app to invest in that capacity within the partner ecosystem? And like, just why is it so important? Because I know every tool that's out there has a partner program. How is Attentive putting a unique spin on it that's maybe a little bit different from the rest?
sure. Yeah. So I think, with respect to what I do with partner community, it's a little bit of a unique role that's very undefined, I think, at most, SaaS companies in this space and the marketing technology industry in general. Partnerships can be pretty transactional at its core. And so what community aims to do is kind of remove the transactional and give back. I think in a way that creates a connectedness to Attentive, but also partner to partner. I look at, when I came here, the skill sets that I brought to the table, when I came over, I met with Allison Kelly, our VP of partnerships, and kind of got bought into this idea that there really was an opportunity to build out community here. we'd already done an amazing job building out an ecosystem of, technology partners, agency partners, systems integrators, etc. But really, like, the community was sort of like the missing piece, to create just, a compounding kind of like multiplier, if you will. And so when I think about, like, community is something that, the value of it is just, there's a saying kind of like, without a community, you're just a commodity, or something to that effect. And really, like, what I'm trying to think about within community is, like, not only how can we better engage our partners to be connected to Attentive, but like also connected to each other. And so, a lot of those things, like, really pushing forward our community focused programs, something that we launched recently, partner appreciation events, and getting our partners, in the same room together, and to be able to celebrate, wins, and introduce partners, and also people who've never partnered with us but are interested, in being able to get them to see, kind of like what we're about. We like to have fun with our partners too, and so being able to engage in those events is great. We just did
Mhm.
a beer tasting event the other day, and that was fun with our UK partners, just to kind of like celebrate that kind of expansion into the UK. So that's a kind of a one-off example, but like, when I peel that back a little bit, even thinking about other programs, that we're working on right now, and I can't share too much because, I got to keep it a little bit under wraps. But I think what I can say is that, we're really thinking about this in a little bit more of a holistic approach of, like, how are we continuing to get partners to evangelize with us, and really celebrate, I think, all the success that we're having with our partnership together. So I think, aside from that, some other things that I'm really focused on within community is sort of like a thought leadership and partner development sort of a component of that too. And so I speak a lot, on podcasts like this, different events as well, with partners like, like Gorgeous, for example, do a lot of stuff with them. But really, when you think about community, and all this kind of coming, to this, I think it's really, um, aiming to help drive forward a partnership, and community can do that a lot faster, I think, than almost any other function in partnerships can.
I think community is going to be my buzzword for 2022.
It's
Um,
always a buzzword. Always.
I think not like this year though. I mean, everybody, not only that you got the technology tools, but every D2C brand that we work with is always like community, community. That's how we're going to solve the acquisition problems that we're facing with the iOS updates. And it's like the brands that already sort of had that um, knowledge and we're investing in that to begin with are reaping the benefits tenfold right now because
Yeah.
of the fact that they did do that. And I think it's very obvious when it's an artificial community because you don't get buy-in from, like in your case, you wouldn't get buy-in from agency partners, like us, if it was just some artificial community you threw up there and there was no real sort of follow through on any of the things that comes with that. Same goes for brands as well. And I think 2022 we can probably coin it as the year of community.
I love it. Yeah, no, like, last year was the year of retention, I think, and this year I think it's community. So it's kind of like one, it stepped up a little bit, but, I think it's like, when you're authentic and you're real, and those are the things that we're thinking about within programs we're doing. Like, we just launched a video series called Texpertise, and that's really like a thought leadership series that we're hosting in our portal, and that's just like real, unfiltered, kind of takes on the space, and where we're headed and things like that. So, I think, just being real is such an asset within how you build a community. And those are things that I always keep in mind.
You would think it is so obvious, but it really isn't. I'm actually working with Mark on sort of putting together some. Mark, who is our sort of our team member who leads all of our sort of like PR strategy and communications, just like the overarching vision and message for Electric and for myself, working through how how Electric sort of just came to be, and a lot of it was really just what do you think would feel best and what feels authentic versus what like trying to pigeonhole yourself into something or thinking about like how is this going to benefit me. It's just like just be casual and normal and it's probably going to work out. That
Right.
seems to be the tried and true method of producing a successful program, company, whatever it may be.
Yeah,
um,
I couldn't agree more.
but speaking to your attentive initiatives that are under wraps, we'll have to have you come back on here to reveal whatever it may be. I'm I'm excited to hear it.
We've got a lot of fun stuff, planned. I think, really I'm excited, for Q2, Q3 and beyond to be able to roll out more community programs. It's been a ramp up in some ways and learnings and kind of
Mhm.
learning what's important to our partners is something that we've taken a lot of time, I think, with building out this community, but it's growing, it's evolving, and having the support, I think, of the entire partner team and the company at large too is a huge it's a huge motivator I think for us knowing that we're headed in the right direction here.
Yeah, I mean, I think the tools that are going to be successful, and I always have thought this, are the ones that source that customer feedback, but actually take it into account. Whether you're a technology platform or if you're a direct to consumer brand, it's amazing how many companies are not just asking the people who are purchasing from them, like what they should be doing better, because
Sure.
that's essentially your entire product roadmap, like within reason. Just listen to the people using the tool on a daily basis and implement it to make it better for them. So, like, I know for us, the technology partnership relationships that have scaled the quickest and have been the most successful are those that like value our opinion and want to take our feedback into consideration when developing the next set of tools. And I mean, that makes sense because then it gets rolled out to 25, 30 merchants. And so that feedback loop, I think, is a really integral part of any successful brand or technology tool.
100%.
But enough about the partnership side of things. Let's talk about SMS because I really want to dive into that with you because you have that unique sort of experience where you were sort of, I don't know what the proper term for this would be, but really deep on the SMS side as a growth marketer. But then you made the transition over and now you look at it from a product perspective and like, how do we scale the technology solution? So, how important is SMS in today's day and age to scaling a business and specifically like nurturing those customer relationships?
Yeah, I think SMS, I've watched it grow, over the past few years. I got into SMS marketing in 2019. Really, I mean, it's hard to think, that's just 3 years ago, but like it seems like it's like years ago. Um,
Yeah. I mean,
and
I didn't start doing Klaviyo email or Attentive SMS till like 2020 and end of 2020. So it's crazy how quickly it's grown and how young it is because like you're the expert in this space and you've only been doing it for 3 years. Whereas most industries, you'd be like, oh yeah, I've done it for 25 years. That's just not how it is.
it's wild. I think it's been a wild ride to watch this space grow out, and like I was saying, like retention marketing was the theme of 2021, and I think that was like the time that everyone started to kind of have this like aha moment where they needed to get into own channel marketing. And SMS, and email were like the two channels, and so from the SMS perspective, when you think like how important is it today to invest in it? I think it's no longer a nice to have, it's a need to have. And so, not only do we look at SMS as a great way to drive revenue, which it definitely does, and a lot of, we have over, 4,500 customers that can attest to this, that, it drives, on average about 20.5% of total online revenue. But
Mhm.
really, what I look at it as is it's making an impact on scaling relationships with your customers. And we do that through a lot of ways. Obviously, having that one-to-one meaningful connection, getting good data on a customer. SMS is built on identity capture, so we're continuously getting first-party data, that behavioral interaction, zero-party data, which we can capture through a variety of ways. If it's conversations, if it's signing up and giving data, etc. Like that's a great way to get a lot of the data that we need to meet the challenges that modern marketers are facing. And then also I think about, just the overall way that SMS is becoming integrated into the technology stack. We were talking about that, a few minutes ago. Like now more than ever, SMS, like I think about the Attentive platform, the amount of integrations that we've shipped over the past 12 months and continue to ship, quarter over quarter is really opening up so many opportunities to be able to, what's up?
It's just been so fast. Like I'd say even a year and a half ago, I looked at the Attentive integrations account. And I was like, I don't know. Like there's really not a whole lot here. And then I open it today and there's like 80 of them. And you've just blown past all the SMS providers in terms of the integrations, which for us is key because we want to create that integrated customer experience. Like if we're going to brand ourselves as retention and customer experience agency, that's sort of at the core of what we need to do. And you guys have just taken that and done triple what I could have even expected from a integration standpoint.
I love to hear that, and I agree. Just as much. Thinking about like we opened up, our APIs and allowed, people to build integrations, into the Attentive platform as well. And so, we really accelerated the time that, I guess, accelerated the time to get, these integrations to market. But also, like we're looking at, longer term, like how do we go deeper on some of our existing integrations and also, continue to, meet the needs of, again, the modern marketer and what they need to have connected, to their tech stack. So I think when I think about that, it's like, historically, like you've done all this through email and having all these like advanced flows and automations and really being personalized there. But now like we can start to do that on SMS. If it's loyalty programs with loyalty line, for example, if it's Okendo to use reviews,
Yeah.
integrating a customer data platform like Simon Data, to be able to do all of this stuff, and have it in the SMS platform. It's really making SMS like the center of the CRM for a lot of brands that we work with. But I think, it's still early innings of SMS because we look at like conversational commerce. Our team just published a fascinating report on what consumer behavior is looking like in that space. We acquired Tone. That's how I got here to build out Attentive Concierge. We are building two-way automations to be able to build like more advanced kind of like journeys as well. Those are really early innings for stuff like that. And I think that that's going to open up so many opportunities for brands to build relationships and drive a lot of revenue as a result. So, still really early innings for SMS in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I think tone is really going to be something that a lot of our brands start to utilize more and more. And it's something that, whether it's through email or text or customer service via live chat, whatever it may be, just like get a real person on the other end for your customers to chat with and have that white glove experience. And then if you can, not to go off on a complete tangent, but if you can translate that over, especially for the brands that have like a retail presence and you have that 360 integration where the online store and the in-store are connected. Like when I go shop at Marine Layer, they know who I am, whether I'm online or in store. And then their customer service also does as well, whether it's in store or online. And it's all real people too. So that experience can't be beat. And if you're a merchant who's trying to like cut costs or cut corners here and there, you're just going to shoot yourself in the foot in the long run because your lifetime value is going to be terrible and your retention rate is going to be really poor. And I think SMS is such a conversational form of texting. Like I text my mom right next to where I'm texting my favorite brand. So that's some pretty high stakes real estate there compared to my email inbox. I think the brands that do it well, and we've already seen it over the past year, are the ones that are going to be truly successful. And
I
no, sorry, go ahead.
I fully agree, and I think that that's like the opportunity right there in front of itself is that like the SMS channel is like where customers are already at. Like we're the most distracted society like in human history, and like when you really think about like how to get someone's attention, it's being in a place they're already in, which is the SMS inbox. They're texting all the time, friends, family, loved ones, etc. And to be able to get value like out of that, like besides just a promotional channel, but actually like I can text into a brand and get help with this certain issue I'm having or answer some questions that I might have about a product, and then to be able to have all that information referenced back through that identity that's continuously building and evolving. If it's that hybrid experience, you're browsing online, you go in store, you come back online, like the customer service agent having all that information, it really goes to show that like we're adding a lot of value to the consumer, which at the end of the day is like such a retention play, that I think that a lot of brands are starting to kind of understand where this is all headed, I think.
Yeah, not everything is an immediate ROI either. So not everything can be equated to ROAS or whatever it may be. There's some just like long-term customer relationship building that needs to take place in order to have a successful brand. I
Sure.
think like SMS is a great tool for capturing that data from customers as well in terms of like the conversational quizzes that we'll build out, whether it's coffee or wine or whatever it may be. My favorite is the replenishment flow that we have with Wine Insiders, where we just, I mean, it's so simple, like conceptually, but you need a tool like Attentive to enable you to do it. Just asking people after 60 days if they don't repurchase, like, when do you want us to remind you? Like, just reply one if it's 1 week, two if it's 2 weeks, three if it's three, four if it's four. And then you just have it wait a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or 4 weeks, and then send them a special offer thereafter. It's just the little things like that that are so simple and then allow you to aggregate that data too to get a better understanding of like what that repeat purchasing behavior is. Or like, do you like red, white, or rose? Simple question, drop them into a segment and use that for campaign sending moving forward. It's not rocket science. It just takes a little bit of time and attention, I think, to see it through to fruition.
Absolutely. I think that right there, like, I mean, I love that example. I always drop that when I can to, and I'm doing any sort of like presentation. I think it's a great example though, because it's like, we were doing beta for two-way journeys. Like we had a 42% average response rate on the first message sent. And so like when you think about like you're texting a customer to understand, do they want to order more wine? What other marketing channel could have up to like a 42% response rate on that? Like I'll pause and wait, 'cause I don't think that
Unless
there
you
is.
go knock on their door and just start selling door to door, I don't think you're going to get that.
Absolutely. And so it's like you're getting that data, to be able not only to maybe, understand in the moment, but like when you go to retarget that customer, you're having that conversation, you have that data to use down the road. You're just making more informed decisions. And I think that's what conversations allow you to do is just to make more informed and personalized decisions, which, brands want that more than ever. They want to be personalized. And so it's just a natural, I think, kind of evolution now that we're able to do it over text. So that's a
Mhm.
great example.
So with everything that's happened in SMS in the last year and a half, which has been like sort of the darling channel of the e-commerce world, where do you think it goes next? Because I'll play devil's advocate here in that it's just a text message. So like, what else could you possibly do with a text? Like, it's getting to a point where how much more can you innovate and build upon something when there isn't necessarily like unlimited applications of where it could go?
Yeah, I think that it's something that I think about a lot. There's two things I'll say. One, there's a guy named Bonin Bao. If you don't know him, I would look him up. He's one of the
Okay.
smartest mobile, marketers I think I've ever, heard speak. He came into our sales kickoff in January in Miami, and I just blew my mind. I think at like he was talking about the future state of text messaging and also just mobile commerce and like where that's headed. And he was bringing up this kind of way that like, like you're right. It's just a text message. But you think about like iMessage, for example, and I'm just going to give you like a picture. Like let's say like like American Airlines, down the road, makes sort of like this branded iMessage experience. And so like in your text message app and iMessage, you're seeing, like it's themed, like there's American Airlines, like, imagery, like maybe like they're pulling up like flight information that you have, like they're able to reference like more of a branded experience within that text message app. So if you're, you're engaging a customer service, you're purchasing a flight, like whatever that looks like, I think we can look at a future state where we're able to actually brand the text message. And so I think that, like this is beyond, attentive, but I really think that that's what brands are thinking about. Bowden talks a lot about that and being able to brand that opportunity. Like that's just free marketing for you to keep a consistent experience. So that's
Okay.
something that I think is really cool that, we might see down the road. But, coming back and pulling it back to just, attentive and here, like what are the next things, for us? We're really bullish. I've said conversational, but like attentive concierge, like we haven't even GA'd yet on concierge. So getting that in the hands of, thousands of merchants is going to open up the doors to not only brands getting to leverage, one-to-one human support, but not having to have, an in-house CS team, but they can do that, in real time and
Yeah.
handle, a lot of different, different use cases, but also consumers getting to experience that, like, how many brands, using Attentive right now and being able to leverage concierge, like we're talking about millions of customers here being able to experience conversational commerce through Attentive Concierge. And this is something that like, folks have really never experienced, and being able to have that aha moment over text. I think we're going to start to see a lot more folks having an affinity towards, customer service over SMS, texting brands for other things other than customer service too. Like I think we're really early innings there. And then
Yeah.
also concierge everywhere, which is something that we're coming out with soon. It's in beta as well, but this goes beyond just like abandoned cart outreach, for example, but actually being able to reply to any message type. So that could be an automation, like transactional SMS, for example, or it could be
Mhm.
campaigns too. So being able to elicit and invite a conversation and then have concierge handle those replies. They're human based, but being able to do it in real time, again, just driving more opportunities, for brands to build relationships, drive revenue, and create an aha moment for a customer. And I think the last thing I can think of too, and this is more of a future state thing too, but it's really fascinating to think about, is being able to actually use concierge in a more proactive way. So you think about, for example, like you're leaving a review request, maybe you're using the Okendo and Attentive integration, and maybe I get the review request and my product was damaged, I leave a bad review. Rather
Mhm.
than letting me sit on that bad review, be salty, maybe go flame you on Google or somewhere else, go to Twitter, whatever that looks like. Maybe we use concierge to proactively outreach to that customer, in real time. Like, hey, like what happened? Want to make things right. And having that human
Mhm.
conversation, that customer still might be upset, but to be able to show you're using empathy to maybe try to resolve the situation, leverage the data that you have on the customer to maybe intelligently kind of understand where they're at, but then also infer what they might do next. So maybe like you had that bad experience, but that conversation really helped you. Maybe you sent a new product out, or maybe you just offered them something that made the situation better. You're just building empathy, kind of trust relationships, I think, with something like that. So I think conversational is really where the future of SMS is headed in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and I think there's a ton of data out there that shows if you have a negative experience with a brand as a customer, but then they make it right and they do right by you, then you're going to be more likely to spend more with them, to refer the brand to more people, which seems counterintuitive, but that's sort of the chance for the brand to really showcase that they care and
Sure.
give that white glove treatment. So I think this will be the norm. And the brands that don't adopt and don't have this form of communication are not going to be around in 2 to 3 years when that's just sort of the expectation. Like I'm going to shop from a store and I'm going to want to know that I can handle everything via SMS, whether it's modifying my subscription, getting a reship, processing a refund, whatever it may be. Um, I'm just curious when people are going to stop using email.
Yeah, I think, like the last note that I think I'll add to that too is like, I think something with Gen Z and, and generations after this, I think we're more and more likely to not pick up the phone and call. I think we don't like to, be on the phone. I think we're more convenience oriented. Even like my parents and things like that too, they're favoring, like a lot more like text communication. And so being
Mhm.
able to like not have to pick up the phone to call customer service, to not have to wait on an email, like these are just naturally adapting to I think where consumers want to be, which is being convenient. The conversation lives in their pocket, and they can have it on their terms. I spent like an hour the other week on customer service on the phone, and it was like one of the worst experiences I've had in a while. And so like to avoid that is a huge value add, I think, for a customer.
I sat before we wrap up here, I sat on a 2.5 hour wait with Chase on it's either Christmas Day or Christmas Eve because we've been growing quickly. So like our ACH limit got hit with Trinet. And so they weren't going to process our payroll and none of the team was going to get paid over Christmas, which like, could you think of a shittier time to not get paid? And so I just sat there for like 3 hours, literally just staring out into the abyss, waiting for somebody to come and help me when I could have just sent them a text and had some sort of just, I could go do whatever the hell I want to, just not sit there having to wait on hold. It's little things like that. And I mean, maybe it seems petty, but I still will not, I will never forget that experience because of just the whole circumstance and whatnot. Um, so long story short, maybe Chase should become an attentive customer, though. I don't even know if that would work, but that could be a big one.
That'd be
If they
great.
do, I want the credit for it because they listen to this.
I'll remember.
Awesome. Well, I don't want to keep you any longer. Thank you for joining us. This has been super, super valuable. Where can folks find you online?
Yeah, so I would get in touch with me. I'm not on Twitter that much, but I'm on LinkedIn a lot. So you can just look me up, Blake Imperl. Probably too active there, honestly. So if you message me, I will respond. And just connect with me there. Happy to be a resource for you on SMS. I speak a lot on this topic, so there's a lot of information that I have out there. Also I've got a lot of stuff. It seems to have trickled its way onto YouTube, so you can probably find some stuff there as well. And also, if you're interested in learning about Attentive, definitely reach out to me, or you can speak with Brandon, or visit us at attentivemobile.com as well. So those are all the places to get in touch with us.
Awesome. Well, again, this is Brandon Amoroso. You can find me at brandonamoroso.com or electricmarketing.com. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you, Blake, for coming on. I expect you to come back to announce those secret attentive things you've got cooking up. But until then, we'll see you next time.